I usually stay out of these conversations, but with Caitlin Clark, I can't stay silent anymore.
The entire arena holds its breath when the greatest of all time speaks. Furthermore, Michael Jordan wasn't merely reflecting this time. On his own heritage, he brought attention to Caitlin Clark, a rising star who is redefining. With each shot she makes in women's basketball, a moment that moved Clark to tears and stunned the court. MJ gave a stirring homage that had an impact well beyond the stage. However, what precisely did he say? Raise the audience to their feet. You won't want to miss this moment. So fasten your seatbelt. Michael Jordan and the ascent of Caitlin Clark when Michael Jordan enters the public eye, particularly with regard to athletes. Outside of the NBA, it's deliberate rather than routine, and when a WNBA rookie gets that infrequent limelight, people have noticed that Jordan has traditionally refrained from offering much criticism on the women's game, preferring to offer support from a distance while using ownership, branding, and worldwide influence to establish his legacy in the men's league. However, when he does talk particularly about a rising star like Caitlin Clark, it's more than simply compliments. It's a seismic change in the concept of greatness. Clark is completely changing, not just gathering statistics. The existence of the WNBA, due to her visit, attendance records have broken and surpassed ratings on television. She has transformed formerly quiet games into sold-out events with the Indiana Fever, with over 1 million spectators watching each game. However, her ascent is significant not only in terms of numbers, but also in the knock-on consequences. Youth basketball programs in the cities where her games are frequently televised are flourishing. The camps are packed. In addition to playing, girls are picking up basketballs to be noticed and heard. That kind of influence is similar to what Jordan used to accomplish in the men's division. He not only won games in the 1990s, but he also redefined what a basketball player might stand for on a worldwide scale. And today, as his Jordan brand discreetly forms alliances with WNBA players, that legacy has a new dimension. His empire's business division is developing and aligning with the commercial. Outstanding female athletes' potential and cultural significance. The question of whether the women's game matters commercially is no longer relevant. It concerns the rate at which that value is rising, with Clark at its epicenter. Therefore, when Jordan officially admits, it's not coincidental for someone like Clark, his infrequent but impactful remarks go beyond simple endorsements. These are statements that compel brands and followers to pay attention. His memory carries a burden that few. The sports world finds it more difficult to ignore him when he draws attention to someone, and others can follow suit. It's a type of cultural transfer that goes beyond endorsement but falls short of mentorship. Social media has only increased that energy of crossover. These days, notoriety isn't limited to ESPN interviews or award shows. Stars can communicate in real time and openly encourage one another using platforms like Instagram and TikTok. And to create stories that transcend gender and league divides. It is in that setting that Jordan's acknowledgement of Clark's arrival was a pivotal moment that spread rather than a subdued gesture. Like a wildfire throughout the internet, corporate brands have gained popularity fast, and joint campaigns with male and female athletes aim for synchronicity, a tactic that allows viewers to imagine unrestricted basketball greatness. Veteran icons and up-and-coming talents are investing in this vision, as more businesses are being drawn into moments of shared attention. The past and future can come together in those moments, where a force like Clark may be validated by someone like Jordan without having to say much. And while Jordan's remarks appeared to unparalleled, why did Shaq and Larry Bird abruptly intervene with their own surprising praise? Keep an eye out. When the greats can't take their eyes off Caitlin Clark, Larry Bird, who is never renowned for extravagant public displays or sensational headlines, said something that sounded lighter than it actually was. In his customary reserved voice, he acknowledged that the previous season, he discovered that he was following Iowa as much as his own alma mater, Indiana State, where his illustrious career began. Travel in the late 1990s. It wasn't ostentatious or over the top, but for a player of Bird's caliber, it expressed everything. Bird doesn't spare words, so when he aligns Caitlin Clark's thoughts with people pay attention to the games that shaped his career. The type of basketball that Bird enjoys is more fascinating. He appreciates hard work, vision, and making decisions rather than chasing hype. Additionally, Clark's fashion reflects those very things. Her quick intuition, long-range accuracy, and tempo management are reminiscent of the qualities that formerly typified the Bird himself. His remark wasn't merely complimentary. It displayed a sort of respectful admiration for how the game is meant to be played. For those who know how uncommon it is for women's basketball, Bird's slight wink said it all. To get past the old-school legend's own radar, however, Shaquille O'Neal, colorful, vocal, and fiercely devoted, he contributed his own surprising voice to the expanding roster of greats. Presently focusing intently on Caitlin Clark, it took Shaq some time to develop a fondness for Clark. His backing for Angel Reese, a player he has openly backed, was evident in the early stages of her WNBA career. With regularity, however, when Clark persisted in controlling with composure, self-assurance, and game-changing ability, something changed. It was what he personally witnessed, not just the headlines or the excitement. And when he eventually spoke to, it was evident that the tone had changed. He said, "Now I'm not Shaq, I'm a fan," removing his extravagant persona for a little period of straightforward candor. Not only did he declare her good, but he also gave an explanation. He discussed how she made plays, her capacity to generate opportunities, and the ways in which she enhances others around her. He observed that her choices weren't just ostentatious, but accurate. Legends have played with Shaq. He understands the distinction between transient and long-lasting excitement. Superiority. And he saw the latter in Clark. His compliment was all the more remarkable because of how organically it come. In spite of his previous position, there was no hesitancy. He admitted that a player's performance might be distorted by television, but claimed that in person, Clark's game was even better. Her leadership, her movement, and her choice of shots all translated. Soundbites didn't appeal to Shaq. Her maturity, knowledge, and control on the floor truly astonished him. And he clarified that what she's doing is not typical. Acknowledgement from celebrities like Bird and Shaq is more than just confirmation. It's a change in the way people who have defined the game view it. They don't show admiration for. It originates from sentiment, basketball logic, and years of research into what makes players stand out at the highest degree. And why was Caitlin Clark left off of Team USA's Olympic roster when the clamor of legends continued to reverberate around her? Does the narrative have more to it? Let's investigate. When disapproval feeds Caitlin Clark's quiet rebellion a return, being excluded comes with a certain stillness, not the kind that reverberates in a deserted arena, but the kind that makes you feel uneasy when your name isn't on the list. Caitlin Clark had experienced pressure previously, but the weight of being left off the U.S. Olympic roster was different. There was more than one competition. Both supporters and detractors were alarmed by the symbolic message. It was unimaginable to many, a player with rekindled enthusiasm. In women's basketball, sold-out stadiums, and increased TV viewership, now marginalized on the international scene, it was uncomfortable. However, not everyone thought it was a catastrophe. Dwight Howard, who experienced both highs and lows during his NBA career, saw it as a test that could prove to be beneficial. He stated frankly, "This should make her go harder in the gym." Expressing no condescension, it was a challenge rather than a jab. Howard wasn't downplaying her suffering. He was gesturing to what was beyond it. He had previously witnessed it. Athletes that are passed over frequently manage to change the world. Regret it. He had high expectations for Caitlin, and perhaps, just possibly, Caitlin's exclusion provided the space was something she hadn't had in a long time, without the tumultuous Olympic schedule, without the scrutiny of every. She found time to reassess when her possession was magnified on the international scene. Her absence from Paris made it possible for her to calmly sharpen her edges. She remained in the gym while the cameras shifted. Her fire wasn't just for show. She did it for herself. Not every extra practice or late-night filming session was seen by the fans. However, it was taking place silently, continuously. In other news, former NBA guard Jeff Teague wasn't keeping silent. From his point of view, the WNBA had lost a fantastic chance. He shook his head and added, "They played this all wrong." Teague has never been a fan of headlines. However, his irritation was evident when he talked. Not only had the league underutilized, they had alienated Caitlyn's wave of admirers. Suddenly, merchandise was flying, games were selling out. Social media usage had increased. Nevertheless, her greeting had been everything but cordial. In his opinion, Teague wasn't alone. Rick Barry, a Hall of Famer, offered something more pointed. He saw Caitlyn's physical abuse as more than just harsh. It was intimate. He described the persistent targeting as repugnant. This wasn't how rookies were often treated. Additionally, from Barry, that said it all, a man who played during a time when heavy fouls were commonplace. What worried him wasn't only the message from the top was sent to the contact. What kind of tone does it set if stars aren't protected? Every game she played during those early months had additional significance. It felt like a challenge, with every foul, a warning in every stare down. Nevertheless, just concentrate. No theatrics, no irate interviews. She took it all in, silently and expertly. Things started to change gradually. Her teammates were taller. Competitors noticed. Even if they refused to acknowledge it, the silence that had before felt like rejection started to have a new meaning.